Greetings folks, and welcome into the Resene webinar, which today is covering the very interesting topic of Feng Shui. Today we have a good friend of Resene joining us once again to deliver the webinar, Tracie Rodwell-Dunne, who's beaming in from New Plymouth. Hello there, Tracie.
Hi Rob, how are you?
Good, thanks. Now, Tracie delivered webinar 4 for us last year, which focused on colour psychology. If you haven't seen it, that's available to view on our website with all of our other webinars that we've put out. So please do jump on there and have a look at it at some time. I'll give a very quick bio before we get into it. Tracie is an award-winning interior designer with over 30 years experience in Australia. However, Tracie and her husband, Chris, now call New Plymouth home. So I think that's a good choice, Tracie.
Absolutely.
Tracie's owned the Beaumont School of Interior Decorating and Design in Brisbane for over 20 years and is the creator of the colour psychology system that is covered in webinar 4. Today's presentation should run for around 30 or 40 minutes, so we will get time for question and answers at the end. I would say that if you do have some questions, please do type them in earlier rather than later, because it's easier to filter through and actually ask your question the earlier that it comes in. Righto, we will turn our webcams off and I'll hand over to Tracie now to kick things off. All yours, Tracie.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. So let's get started. As an expert in Feng Shui, I have used it extensively in design projects since the early 1990s for both domestic and commercial projects and clients. I've also carried out over 200 Feng Shui readings with 100% accuracy. I don't need to know anything about the client or even have met them to do an accurate Feng Shui reading using this modality. The classic client that I had was a young lady with 2 young children, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old daughter, and I do the Feng Shui reading over the whole house, then I'll do it over room by room, and I was doing it over the 5-year-old boy's bedroom and discovered that he had congestion in his wealth sector, which I thought was really unusual for a 5-year-old, and was quite concerned about it. When I went to see the mother who was waiting for me in the lounge room and said, look, little Joey's got congestion in his wealth sector. And she went, oh, yeah, that's right. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. She said, yeah, from about the age of about 12 months old, he had issues with money where he would steal and hoard it and hide it, and really strong issues with money. And it was still reflected in his room as a congestion in his wealth sector. So it sort of blew me away a little bit at the accuracy. So there's no age limitation to how accurate Feng Shui can be for people. The form of Feng Shui I practice and teach is different to most systems, as it doesn't follow any form of superstition. It isn't convoluted, and it is easy to understand as it relates to how we live and feel within a space. And I find this resonates with what designers are wanting to achieve for our clients. We want them to have that beautiful space. So what is Feng Shui? It is the art of creating harmony and balance in our lives and surroundings, and has been around for thousands of years. The original intent of Feng Shui is to create a balanced energy within a space, both physically and emotionally. I've always been drawn to Feng Shui, and I would look at different modalities back in the 80s, and I just couldn't find any that I resonated with until I discovered a gentleman called Mike Robinson, who also found it difficult to resonate with what Feng Shui systems were out there. So he went back to the actual origins of Feng Shui, and he called it Feng Shui Gong, and discovered where did it start and how was it first created. And then he created a system of teaching just that, which I did way back. And then from there, I've evolved it myself, and also obviously put it to the test scientifically as well as personally. There's a lot to understand about Feng Shui, but today I'll give you an overview of what I hope will inspire you to delve deeper into the wonderful modality of Feng Shui. Everyone is seeking peace and happiness within their homes. They want more than beautiful spaces. And in particular, since COVID, everyone is wanting to transform the way they live by creating a better balance of energy as we are spending more time at home. Feng Shui is about designing this interior space to create the flow of energy and balance that everyone is seeking in all aspects of their life. Good interior design, like good Feng Shui, changes negative energy into positive energy. A question for everyone to ask themselves is, do you feel you deserve to feel joy in your home? If your answer is yes, then you may ask yourself, how do I create this? The answer is balanced energy within the space. Another question to ask yourself is, what parallels can I see between the state of my home or workspace and that of my mind, body, and spirit? What this means is, if I am feeling that things are not flowing or my energies feel congested, then it's probably that the home is a bit disorganized or the workspace is also disorganized. A vibrant flow of Feng Shui will nourish your energy and allow you to focus on and achieve your goals. Feng Shui helps you harness energy and create harmony between you and your home, you and your workspace, which then supports you to create your goals. A space that has good Feng Shui promotes harmony, good relationships, and balances wealth and well-being. But balanced Feng Shui isn't the only thing that creates this. It only assists us to feel more balanced within ourselves. Whereas a space that has bad Feng Shui will do the opposite. It can disrupt the energy, which can manifest as feelings of restlessness, agitation, or poor sleep. Have you ever walked into a space that makes you feel unsettled? You'll probably not like it, but this is a feeling you have about the space. What happens is you are feeling the energy of Feng Shui. I believe that good design instinctively has a balanced Feng Shui energy about it. Most people today are out of balance energetically, and this is reflected in our homes and workspaces and is due to how we design and live within our environments. There are two aspects to Feng Shui I would like to discuss today. The first is how a space is designed energetically, and the second is how we manifest energy within a space. So let's get started on how a space is designed energetically. In Feng Shui, the energy within a space is called qi. And if the qi is not flowing or is stagnant, this will affect how we feel within the space. Bad design can affect how qi energy within a space feels. If the space is overcrowded, cluttered, or out of proportion, these factors will affect how it feels. You can see from the image I've presented to you, there's a lot going on and it doesn't feel so pleasant. It's too much happening. The factors that come into play to create a balanced space from a Feng Shui perspective are natural light, airflow, window and door placement, and furniture placement. You'll notice these are the same principles we consider in interior design and architecture. So let's start with natural light. If a space doesn't have enough natural light, this will affect how we feel within this space. So you can see from illustration A, it feels dark and heavy, not very welcoming, and not a pleasant place to be in. Illustration B feels light and cheery and welcoming and calms you in a very pleasant environment. So you can feel the different energies between not having enough natural light and having the right amount of natural light. The next one is airflow. If a space doesn't have good cross ventilation, then this affects how we feel within the space, as the air or qi will be stagnant and the space will feel heavy. One way of understanding qi is to think of it like a breeze coming in and out and going in and out of the space. Plants or structures outside windows and doors affect how the qi energy flows into and out of a space. They can block light and air flow into the area, and this will cause bad qi energy in the space. In this image, you can see the trees stop the light and airflow coming in, and you don't feel welcomed into the home. This is considered bad Feng Shui and also bad designing. Window and door placement. If a space isn't planned properly in relation to placement of windows and doors, this affects how we feel and interact within the space. This also affects how the qi energy flows within the space. So let me explain this in more detail. The reason placement of doors or windows is important is this influences how the qi energy flows in and out of the space. Qi needs to flow in and out easily and access all areas of the space for it to feel right. So in illustration A here is not good qi. The doors are directly opposite each other. The energy flows in and goes straight out the other door and it doesn't interact in the room. Illustration B is also not good qi, as the congestion of area of energy coming in and out is at the doorway, so there's no other door to exit from or window. So what's happening is it comes in and out and it's rushing back out again and there's a congestion in the entryway. So again, not good qi. Illustration C has two doors that are diagonally opposite. The qi can come in, moves around till it finds the exit door and then goes out the other way. This is considered better qi and good qi. Furniture placement. The qi energy flow relates to how energy enters and it traverses through a room. How you walk through the room reflects how the energy travels through. If the room is crowded, then the flow of energy will become blocked and congested within the room, causing it to feel uncomfortable. So how we place furniture within the space affects the energy flow. So here in illustration A, we have bad feng shui. We have room number 1 where we've got a bed against the window, and room number 2 where you actually come in the door and almost hit the bed. So these are the 2 areas of concern on illustration A as being bad feng shui. So then in illustration B, you can see I've corrected the problem where I've actually relocated the windows so the bed can then sit against the wall properly. The chi is not flowing over the body as you're trying to sleep, which is not disturbing your sleep, and you still get good airflow coming in. In room number 2 on illustration B, I've actually flipped the bed around so it's the other side of the room. So you walk into the room and you can breathe. If you can come into a space and move freely, it's got good feng shui and good chi energy into the space. When designing workspaces, a principle of both good design and feng shui is to not have your back to someone entering the space or office. In general, it is best to be facing the door or approach to the desk. But if this is not possible, then have the entry to the side. Otherwise, the person can get a fright when someone's coming and approaching them to the desk. So we obviously want them to feel comfortable in the work environment. So creeping up on them is not considered good feng shui, and it's not considered good design either. Another feng shui principle is you should walk into a space like an emperor. Your clothes should not touch anything. So in illustration A, this room, there is too much furniture. You actually, it's congested. You could almost stub your toe walking around it. In illustration B, there's a good balance of furniture. The furniture feels like it can breathe. This isn't always possible though, unless you've got a very large house. But the general theory is to not overcrowd your spaces and to not put too much furniture in. And these days we tend to put too much furniture in. So again, that's considered bad feng shui. How we manifest energy within a space is the next section. One of the founding principles of feng shui is to have a space that is clean and free from clutter. What clutter means is the inside creates the outside, and from a feng shui point of view. So some feng shui systems believe the reverse of this, that the space is congested when the congestion will create, and the congestion will have been created outside of the environment, that it's actually affecting you. And this isn't what's actually happening. The congestion inside you is creating the clutter, and you manifest that in your environment. So if you have a space that is actually cluttered, it's more about what's going on inside you than what's actually going on outside of yourself. Congestion of energy starts within ourselves and manifests out into our home and workspaces. This is one of the most important aspects of feng shui. The congestion is trying to get our attention so we can clear and rebalance our emotions and thinking. It is our emotional energies that create an imbalance within a space. Feng Shui gives insight and assistance with clearing and balancing these energies. You may have heard of the KonMari method of decluttering. This is a good system, but one of the points it misses is ascertaining what caused the clutter in the first place. And without understanding this clutter, it will be recreated again and again. You might ask, what is clutter? This is an accumulation of things such as clothes, books, magazines, papers that you no longer need or are hanging on to. It could also be within a space inside a drawer is messy and not organised. And what this does is actually waste your time trying to find things, but also it's considered a bad energy. I had a client who was well known to me, was someone I actually did work with. They were a joinery company, and they asked me to come to their home because they were very unhappy. They wanted to do a renovation. So I went and had a look at it, and I realised that the house itself, there was nothing wrong with anything, but it was very cluttered. They had, it wasn't messy, it had a lot of stuff, and they were Dutch, and they had a lot of china that was very Delft china, very beautiful, that they were hanging on to as heirlooms for their children. They had like a massive amount of it. When I pointed this out to them, that the situation was that the reason they were unhappy at home was because of the energies in the space, and suggested that they declutter, they were a bit shell-shocked because it wasn't quite how they were expecting the meeting to go. I suggested that they either give it to their children or sell the items and go on a holiday. They then rang me 2 weeks later, very excited, because they'd actually followed my advice and changed and cleared it all up, and the house felt phenomenally different and better. And they were just wrapped with how great the space actually felt by just getting rid of things that they no longer needed to have in their space. Our emotions and thinking are the main way we become out of balance, and this becomes reflected in where we create clutter. how we become out of balance is complicated and different for everyone. So because as we're all individual, our life circumstances are different. So the reasons are different, but the congestion doesn't lie. So in actual fact, it could be congestion in the same sector for two different people, have two different meanings to it, but the general theory of it remains the same. Feng Shui helps us to look at the area of accumulated congestion and clutter. When you understand where you are out of balance, the result is that you can then create a space that you feel aligned with and can't wait to get home to, or a work environment that supports your success. You cannot clear out someone else's clutter. You can assist them, but if you do it for them, then nothing will change and they will recreate it again and again. I had a student I was teaching Feng Shui to, and his wife was a severe sufferer of anorexia and was regularly in and out of hospital. She had a lot of congestion in her bedside, on her side of the bed, on her bedside table, under the bed, and the floor. And when she would go into hospital, he would clear it all away, and then she'd come home, and then a few days later, she would have recreated it. This happened again and again. So when I explained to him that he couldn't do it for her, that she had to do it, it took the pressure off himself, but he then realized that he couldn't change her, only she could change her. So whilst you will make yourself feel better in the short term when you clear someone else's clutter, long term they get no benefit out of it, and they will recreate it, as parents may have found with teenagers in particular, or young children. As you are clearing, it is important to focus on why you created the clutter and gain some insights into how and why you need to change. If you don't do this, then potentially nothing will change and you will recreate it again and again. Other ways that we affect energy are in the words of a song, wording on a t-shirt, or motifs on bed linen. None of these create good feng shui. These images are presented here. The first one is a wording from a song of an album. The second is a t-shirt, and the third is bed linen. Now, these days, the last number of years, it's been a trend to put aggressive things on boys' bed linen in particular. And I know this from my young nephews, who are actually now young men, and they were about the age of about 8 and 10, and their mother had, the wrestling was a big thing in Australia at that time, and she put these fighting images of these world wrestlers on their bed linen. And I hadn't realised until a couple of months down the track when I found out. And I said to her, have you noticed that the boys are fighting more than usual? And she said, yes, actually they are. And I pointed out the feng shui aspects of the motif on the bed linen, which obviously she then quickly changed, and it then settled their energies down. So they were actually sleeping in the energy of that aggression and that fighting, and then it was actually manifesting out into their daily life. The same if you're wearing a t-shirt that says permanently tired and you're lying in bed sleeping with it, and in those energies, and you wake up feeling tired because you're actually permeating those wording into your energy field. The same if you're singing a song and it's like it becomes a bit of a mantra where you're saying the same negative words again and again as you sing the song a dozen times because you love the song, but it actually is setting you up for bad energy within your own energy field. So again, bad feng shui. So you may have heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist who revolutionized the idea that our thoughts and intentions impact the physical world. So how he did it was he would actually put energies and wording into water. He'd then freeze it and photograph it. And these are some of the actual results he came up with. So he scientifically proved that when you take a glass of water and you actually imbue heavy metal music, like you actually impact it completely for a period of 5 or 10 minutes, then you freeze it and photograph it, it becomes, the top left image is quite unattractive and quite ugly looking, really. And then again, if you actually on the top right side put bad words into a glass, and then put water in that glass and again freeze it and photograph it, the actual energies are very distorted and unattractive and aggressive seeming. And then the bottom two images on the left, it says thank you, where he imbued the words thank you to the water and how pretty it is. So these are just drops of water. And then on the right bottom is love and appreciation. So you can see how the images have changed dramatically, purely based on the words that you imbue the water with. And when you factor in that we actually are 70% roughly water, when we actually are wearing a t-shirt that has negative words on it, we're actually imbuing that into our own water field inside our bodies. And this is what we're doing to the water inside the body. We're making it very distorted and ugly, which affects our energy and is obviously bad feng shui. So the energy of artwork in bedrooms is something else to consider as well. I have a friend who isn't in a relationship and had a piece of artwork that had a single person in it, which she hung in her bedroom. When I explained to her that, asked her, did she want to have a relationship? And she said, yes. I pointed out that by having only a single person in the artwork in the bedroom was not promoting a partnership, that everything should be in pairs. So an artwork that had a couple in it was more promoting of her getting a relationship than having a single lonely person in there. And the person in this artwork, as you can see, doesn't look very happy either. The same thing goes if you actually have aggressive or agitating artwork that might be a scene like on the right there, where it actually is it's aggressive, it's agitating, and again doesn't promote peaceful sleep. There's a theory in some feng shui systems that you can't have water in a bedroom. I'm not so perturbed about that energetically. If it's calm, peaceful water, that's fine. But if it's actually turbulent, stormy water, not so good, and it could cause arguments in the bedroom as well. So how to apply feng shui? What is a feng shui reading? We analyze the space, we check for design aspects that need modifying, we ascertain where energy might be missing in the space, and we're checking for congestion and clutter. The energies might need to be cleared to allow a better flow. We use the bagua to ascertain which sectors fall into within the space, and we use mirrors to correct the missing energies within the space. Science has proved that mirrors draw energy towards them for clearing, so you can actually use mirrors to attract energy. I was sharing an office years ago with another design company, and we didn't get a lot of walking traffic, with a little bit. My work area, my staff area, was at the back. It had beautiful outlook and natural light, which was my choice to have it. His was in the front of the office. And what I've noticed in the first early period of us sharing the office together, he was getting all the walk-in traffic. Our theory had been that whoever's there just takes it. There was no rhyme or reason to it. So what I decided was that at the end of a very long corridor at the start of my office, I put a massive mirror in. And because mirrors draw energy towards them, and what happened is all of a sudden he wasn't getting the walking traffic, I was getting the walking traffic. And so it actually proved to me quite emphatically that the actual mirror draws the energy down to into my space, which brought more work in. So if you have a retail space or an office, or you want to bring more work in, more clientele in, put a mirror in your reception area facing your front door. Very effective. So the bagua is our main tool that we use. The word bagua means 8 areas, and it is the main tool used in feng shui and is considered the energy map. Each sector relates to an aspect of our lives and is used to analyze the energy of the space. So this is a symbol of the bagua. The bagua helps us assess, improve, and enrich every aspect of our life and assists in self-discovery. The 8 sectors are self, which relates to me and what's going on in my life. Relationships, which relate to myself and my husband. Children relates to children and siblings. Friendship is obvious. It's about my friendships, my relationship with my friends. Career is about my work environment and what I'm doing, whether I'm doing a career that I enjoy. Self-knowledge is what my understanding of wisdom is and what my belief systems are. Family is my mum and dad, and wealth obviously is my abundance. We use the bagua to analyze each space to ascertain where congestion or clutter has accumulated and give insights into why. Through understanding the bagua, we can redirect the energy flow to focus on things we need to improve and enrich by increasing the positive qi and correcting the negative qi. Feng Shui can help an individual achieve their goals and is a positive and powerful influence on their life. We also use mirrors. To achieve good feng shui within a home or office, it needs to be a square or rectangle in shape, or the energy of a sector will be missing. This isn't normal to Western architectural design. We tend to have very unusual, all over the place designs, but from a feng shui point of view, there will be an energy piece section missing. So in this design I've showed you on illustration A, has missing energy where I've circled in red. So if a sector is missing this, and this means energy is missing from that sector. And if that sector falls, say, into your wealth sector, that could be why money is not flowing into your life. So in illustration B, you can see it's a perfect rectangle and there are no energy spaces missing. A has energy missing, either part of the house is missing or it's just a covered terrace with no walls in it. That's what defines missing energy. So we use mirrors to correct this missing energy, as the mirrors draw energy towards themselves. So what happens is we use the mirror to draw the energy in and actually stops that missing space being there. So energetically, you've added energy, but you haven't physically had to change the actual architecture of the house. Once the Feng Shui reading has been done, you can then start to plan how to move forward. There needs to be a willingness to change within ourselves, or we may never achieve balance in our lives. In summary, the answer to creating good Feng Shui within your space is within you. If you are patient and persistent with applying Feng Shui, you will start to feel happy, inspired, relieved, prosperous, have a sense of clarity, lightness, harmony, and flow. Also, being organized saves time finding things, which gives you time to focus on the good things in life, and it gives you pleasure in your home. When we create balanced chi or good energy within our environment, we create good fortune. I also do run Feng Shui certificate courses. I have 2 levels. If you're at all interested, my website has all the information, and I'm happy to chat with anybody about it. So, Rob, we've got question time now.
Yeah, thanks, Tracie. That was very interesting. I think that will have left a lot of people that may have not known a lot about it with some good ideas and probably questions in their head about their own environments. So I absolutely got some time for question, and we've had questions, and we've had a few really good ones come in. What we'll do, we'll flick our webcams back on now, I guess, so everyone can see us. Hope that's all working.
Hi.
Yeah, we're back. Right, now I will scroll through these. It's a little bit hard on screen sometimes. Got one in from John Lawrence. I think you might have just touched on this actually. Are mirrored wardrobe doors in a bedroom okay?
No, from a Feng Shui point of view, no. I know they're used a lot in design because they make a space seem bigger, but they actually draw energy towards you. And if you're particularly sensitive to energy, it will disturb your sleep. It'll disturb your sleep any which way, but some of us are more sensitive to it and will feel it stronger. There's no solution to it other than the only thing that energy will not travel through is pure silk. So the only recommendation is to actually remove them and put, some other form of material in there. Anything other than mirror. Mirrors are very, very powerful, so not considered good.
Excellent. I'm just currently renovating and taken mirrored wardrobe doors out and replaced with solid painted, so I'm on the right track. Now, one in from TJ Lee. Do you think hanging a bagua ornament at my front door will bring in good energy?
There's a number of Feng Shui systems that believe that this is what you have to do. If you have a belief system that wants to do that and you believe it, then it will happen for you. But it's a superstition and it actually has no science behind it, and it's just a power of positive thinking. So from a pure Feng Shui point of view, no, it's not relevant. But that's not to dismiss somebody who genuinely believes that that's a benefit to them. I knew somebody who actually read in Feng Shui that putting a ceramic frog in their front entry would bring in prosperity. She really believed it. There's no science behind it at all. So
might just bring in more curious frogs to see what the.
That's what I do. Definitely, yes.
Sharon Pierce has asked, how do I get my husband to declutter if he thinks that Feng Shui is rubbish?
This is a common question that a lot of particularly females that work with me and study with me ask. I find that sometimes proving it to them, start slowly. In any form of decluttering, we always have to start very slow because it stirs energy up. It's like, if you can imagine, hosing down a pathway that's got a lot of mud on it, dried mud on it, and then you start to hose it down and it gets messier, and it takes a while before the mud clears up and the pathway starts to look clean. If you can imagine that that's energy, you've got to go very slowly to actually clear your energy out. Otherwise, it forms a congestion inside you. So getting people on board, if you explain what you want to do and why, and men want prosperity. So if you say to them, look, you've got nothing to lose, but what you've got to gain is we potentially are financially better off and we feel better in the house, they're going to get on board. The problem is if it's their congestion and it's overwhelming, like they're a collector of something. You've got to find a way to be able to allow them to collect things, but in a tidy, organized way. And the question as to why you're collecting things would be why you'd ask, depending on what their congestion is around. But a lot of times, the first thing to ask is why have they got the congestion? For men, a lot of the times it's congestion in their career sector. So when you have a Feng Shui reading, a lot of times I'll find, particularly for women, I'll do the reading and I'll say, oh, there's congestion in the husband's sector and in his career sector. And I'll say, how's the husband's work? And they'll go, oh, he's fine. And I say, well, so he's really happy with his job? Oh, yeah, no, he's fine. Because her agenda is she needs him to be fine because he's helping to pay the bills. But energetically, he's actually feeling trapped. He's in a job he probably doesn't like, but it earns him good money because he's got to pay the bills to put the children through school and pay for the holidays and whatever, So understanding that and giving them support while they go through the process is going to get them more on board than just nagging them to do it. If that answers it.
Yep, very good. Excellent. This is an interesting one from Vaughan Smith. What if the toilet is in my wealth sector?
Yes, that's a hard one, particularly in Western design if you've got an existing house. The main issue is water does draw energy towards it, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing. If you've got a swimming pool that has water in it, obviously it has water in it. If it's got a filtration system that's constantly being put on, then obviously the water is cleaned and moving. If you don't run the filtration system, it becomes stagnant, and then obviously energetically it's stagnant. Similarly with the toilet, it's being flushed all the time, so that's okay, but you'd want to keep the toilet seat lid down and close it down. It's going to help stop your wealth going down the toilet for you. If you are designing a house, it's something from a feng shui point of view to look at, and you wouldn't want to do. You would avoid doing that at all costs, because the last thing you want is our wealth going down the toilet. But keeping that toilet seat lid down is the best thing you can do.
Very good. Now, this is an interesting one. I'm from Fred Stevens. How is chi affected in passive house design where airflow is unnaturally achieved by mechanical pump servicing airtight living spaces? That's an interesting one.
That's a really difficult one, definitely. I think that one thing you could do, if you can't get natural airflow in, like particularly high-rise apartment buildings now in major cities, and that they actually shut the windows barely open, if open at all. Fans would be the one way you'd actually help to do that. You'd want to you can do energy clearing with using things like lavender sprays, spraying that would help clean the energy, and then using fans to circulate it around. But you wouldn't want to sleep with a fan above you, because it's actually stirring your chi around and actually disturbing you. So having a fan in the room off-centered, so it's not on you, is better to stir the energy around. But opening doors is the only real way, and opening windows is the only real way. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but they're the only solutions you really have.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next one here from Anne Galloway is the Bagua related to which hemisphere the personal space is located in?
Yes, we actually, for us in the Southern Hemisphere, south is important. So when we're doing a reading, we need to know where south is first. And then we turn the floor plan around of the house and to its face, laying the Bagua south over the top of it. When you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the reverse, and we actually focus on north. But in the Southern Hemisphere, we focus on south. There's a little exercise you can do. If you actually know where south is, you stand up and facing south and close your eyes. What will happen is if you should just be really quiet and still your body, you'll actually feel the energy will just slowly push you back, really subtly. And so it's a good exercise to practice at home. If you can find out where south is with a compass on your phone, and then just stand there and just gently watch, and it just works. It just pushes you back ever so subtly. Then you know you're in true south, and it shows you the power of south in our Southern Hemisphere. But Northern Hemispheres, you've got to go north.
Very good. Now, just back on the passive house, Fred's actually expanded on his questions. I think we'll come back to you on that one, Fred. It's a pretty lengthy question there, so we'll definitely come back to you on that, because it certainly looks interesting, but I think I'm going to struggle to read it out. Anna Whitten asks, what is the position you look at the Bagua from, e.g. front door or door to room, or orientation?
I know there's a feng shui system out there that works on a nine squares on a rectangle, and you've actually orientated with the front door at the bottom. In the original feng shui philosophy, it didn't factor that at all. That's a bit of a westernized version of it. And I have not had that done in any of my work, but I know of people who have had a reading done using that, and they have not found it accurate. So we don't factor that in at all. It actually works on, doesn't matter what the house is shaped orientation wise, it doesn't affect the feng shui from any point of view, other than obviously things like if the house is at a T intersection, not good. The traffic running past all the time causes the energy flow to affect the house, and at the end of a cul-de-sac is actually bad positioning. Things like hiding your front door is not good, but generally from a Feng Shui point of view, yeah, everything's okay. It's actually the other things that I've talked about that are the issue. So just things like, not having trees in your front yard, they're stopping energy flow and coming in. If you're having trees are fine, particularly if you're at a T intersection and traffic's running straight at your house, you want to put a band of trees up to stop that energy flowing, aiming at your house, like little arrows at your house. And the similar thing happens with the cul-de-sac. But the otherwise position of the front door, you should always be able to see the front door. I consider it bad design to not be able to show your front door, because then how do you guide your guests or your visitors into the house? But from a Feng Shui point of view, no, you don't have to worry about that at all. Good question.
Very good. Yep, excellent. Now, my apologies if I repeat things that you've already answered, and I think you just touched on it there. Did you just mention what about a mirror in the front of a main door?
Yeah, no, I can reiterate that again. So mirrors draw energy towards them for clearing. And so if a visitor's coming to your house, clearing their energies before they get into your house is a really good idea. So you can actually, what you do is you put a mirror at the front door, cleans their energies without them even knowing it, and only lets good energy flow through it, and it reflects the bad energy back off it. So having a mirror in your front entry is very good Feng Shui. And you don't even have to see the mirror. Mirror energy will travel through everything, as I've said before, bar silk. So if you don't want to have a mirror there, you can actually hide it behind a piece of artwork. You can hide it inside a cupboard and people don't even know that it's there, but it can actually help. And the mirror doesn't have to be huge. About 20, 30 centimeter square rectangular piece of mirror is adequate to clear people's energies.
Very good. Actually, we've got a lot of questions coming in, which is great. That's excellent. We've still got a little bit of time. Yep, plenty of time. One from Michael, how do you apply the 8 bagua areas to the whole home, now I think I'm reading that out incorrectly. Are you applying them to the whole home or room by room?
Both, Michael. We do it both ways. So you actually, ideally you want to do a plan of the house, and it doesn't have to be architecturally drawn. If you have one, that's the best. And you actually want to sketch of the house, plan, and you want to lay the bagua over the top so it actually goes over the whole of the house and extends past the house. Then you can do a reading on the whole home. Then what I do is I'll do that on the whole house. If there's multi-levels, I'll do it level by level. Then I'll go room by room. And particularly I want to focus on where there's congestion, particularly bedrooms. If there are teenagers, I want to focus on those. Parents can have a Feng Shui reading done on their teenager's bedroom, and it will tell them exactly what is going on in the teenager's life. But you can't then go and challenge them, because it's actually a bit of an invasion of their privacy, in my opinion. So I suggest you have to let them know what you're doing, but it's going to give you a very personal reading as to what's happening in their life. So we actually do it on the whole house, on each level, and then each room by room it's done individually as well.
Excellent. Now I'm just scrolling through here. A little bit difficult to keep up with them when they're coming in so thick and fast, which is great. As I mentioned earlier, we will come back to anyone that we don't get to today and answer those directly. Now there was one here from Nikita, which again we may have touched on, but there's a lot of questions coming in about mirrors and placement. Is there a relationship between mirrors and doorways in relation to money?
Yes and no. The mirrors draw energy towards them for clearing. So if you have, say you have a bit of congestion about money, you want to bring more money into your life. I'll use money because it's something we're all focused on. You can have a mirror facing into that sector to draw more money towards you for clearing. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to, it doesn't matter where in the room you put it, as long as it's within that sector, and you find out that sector by laying the bagua over that room or over the house. And then you want to face the mirror towards that area to draw the money in, and it will draw energy towards you. But the one notation on this is that if you've got issues around money, it wants you to clear those issues out. So what will happen is it might seem like more bills come in and there's more problems around money. And it's because you need to change your thinking around abundance and prosperity. And if you think that I can't always have what I want, then it's a belief inside you. You've got to change that to allow that money to flow in. The mirror is just going to highlight that and make you want to bring it more in. And how you find that out is where the congestion of clutter is in your environment. So clutter is one of probably the biggest aspects of Feng Shui, where it helps humanity. It's like a gift from the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, that wherever I've got congestion, tells me what areas I need to clear in my home. So I can use that mirrors to help me, but they will make it feel worse before it feels better. It's like hosing down the muddy path.
Very good. Now this is a very interesting one from Nicole. Does shape, materiality and height of furniture have impact? And how about a sofa on legs or no legs?
It balances with good design. So legs or no legs, if you've got a sofa and you just chop the legs off it, that's bad design. If you've got a design of sofa that actually doesn't have legs designed into it and it looks great, then that's not an issue. With regards to furniture in a space though, if you've got a low ceiling and you put high furniture in, it proportionally looks out of balance. So it's bad design, but it's also bad feng shui. Another classic is a lot of homes, they'll put a lot of shelving above the bed and down the side of the bed, particularly if it's more of an eclectic looking environment. And you're lying in bed with all these things. And it's like, can you imagine if I put it in practical terms, if you have an earthquake, which we can have in New Zealand here, and the books fall down or an ornament falls down, it could actually kill you or cause you a lot of damage. So it's an impractical thing to do. It's an energy, messy, clutter thing to do. And I consider it not a good design thing as well. So furniture is important if it looks good and it's balanced and it's in proportion, follows all of the proper design principles, then it also follows good feng shui. So not big furniture in a small room. You know, if it's a large room and you've got tiny itty bitty furniture, it looks silly and is out of proportion. It won't affect necessarily the airflow, but it doesn't present a good feeling. The one thing about the original principles of feng shui is that they really tie into good design. And those of us who are very sensitive to energy, which I've always been, you know, I want to create a space that feels good for the client and that they feel energized and they feel invigorated and they feel calmed and they feel wonderful in that space. And when I've achieved that, I've also achieved good feng shui. I hope that answers that question.
It does. And the next question actually just touches, probably covers, you've just covered off quite a bit of it, but this one's interesting actually, and given that we're Resene and we're about color, where is it again? Adam's asked, are there some interior finishes, which I think you've just talked about, or colors better for feng shui than others?
Some feng shui systems do delve very deeply into color. I think color is a completely different subject. And if you've seen my first webinar with Resene last year on color psychology, you know how passionate I am about the energy of color. So yet again, if I've got a space that's very small and I put really dark colors in it, I'm affecting the natural light flow in the space as well if there's not enough windows. So yes, it does insofar as, but it's not a specific color that I can say other than dark colors in a small room are going to make the room feel fairly depressed. Whereas if it's a small room, I want the room to feel light and airy. And it also factors in how much natural light flow I've got within the space, whether or not that color is the right and appropriate color for that environment. Whether a color is the wrong color, it's more about how I feel about the energy. So if I say take the color brown and I wanted to paint those walls brown, but my husband said, oh, that's disgusting, it'd be because of his energies around the color brown, not because brown is a problem. There are no wrong colors, but there is the right appropriateness of light source of a color in a certain space, as in proportions of a room or natural light flow. So does that make sense? It complicates. That was a good question. It's complex, but yeah, if you go watch the color psychology webinar on the Resene website, it'll give you a lot more clarity around the energies of color, which the fascinating thing is both color psychology and feng shui give us these wonderful tools to help us have a fabulous life and to help our energies flow and to get everything we want in life and create joy and happiness. It's wonderful. And they're free.
Yep. Just on that, if anyone does want to watch the previous color psychology webinar, the place to find it is on our website under the specifier tab. If you just drop that down, I think it's first or second line there is the webinar section, and it lists all of the webinars there. It's very easy to find. We'll just do a couple more questions here because we do have a bit of time. An interesting one in from Josh around, do different timber tones exude different feelings and energies?
No, not from a pure feng shui point of view, no. It again goes back to good design principles. Timber's good. Like there's also a theory in feng shui of, metal, timber, wood, fire, air, etc. And that's really complex. But having some wood in your environment, I think, is really great. For those of us who remember designing back in the 80s, where there was a lot of stainless steel and cold colors and that, and clients were really unhappy with the inner environment, particularly in the offices. I found that, you know, I'd go into offices that were done by somebody else and have to try and warm them up with color and plants and adding timber accents and that. So warming things up with timber is always wonderful. Making sure that it, from a design point of view, works aesthetically, that's a different issue. And if it works aesthetically, then it's also where there's good balance of feng shui. So, but no, timber's great. You can't go too far wrong using timber in your environment at all, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll just ask one last one here, and we do have quite a few come in, so I think we're going to be busy answering some questions afterwards, which is good. That's a great result. Joyce has just asked one about hotels, that there are mirrors and TVs right in front of beds. Is this good or bad?
Yes, not good. If I'm away at a hotel somewhere in that and they've got mirror doors, all I can do is move them as far away from particularly my head as I can. So I'll move them to the far side, so I'll have to sleep with the wardrobe open from that point of view. The only thing you could do is travel with a large piece of silk and tack it up onto above the mirror. The only thing that energy will not travel through is, as I've said before, is silk. And silk's a good energy protection thing. That in fact, if you're somewhere and you're feeling challenged energetically, wrap yourself in a silk scarf. Because you guys can't do that, but and it actually protects your energy. And I've actually used that numerous times myself over the years, and it's very, very effective. So there's nothing you can do. If there's a TV at the foot of the bed, yes and no, it's a problem. Again, a silk scarf over it's the only solution, because in these days it's not everybody's obviously into feng shui and they don't mind, and not everybody's as sensitive to energy as some of us are. So silk, travel with a large piece of silk is a good idea.
Would just from a guy's perspective, as you said, silk scarves, silk pocket squares, or is it something that needs to be encompassing? Or
yeah, better to be completely encompassing, but like a silk tie can help, because our main energy center is our heart center, you know, like and if the tie is here, it's going to protect you to some degree of bouncing some energies off you. So a pure silk tie would certainly be beneficial. You know, if you're going into a confrontational meeting, that could be really beneficial to help wear that, because obviously silk shirts, possibly not so practical for a man to have a silk shirt, but good if you get a silk shirt would be ideal, obviously, for a man. Don't sleep in silk though, because what happens is that our energies expand out from us at night for clearing. If you're wearing silk or sleeping in silk, it actually stops your energies going out for clearing. So you might find you can feel quite tired and drained after wearing it for a period of time, having too much silk in your life. So yeah, so don't sleep in silk. Don't wear silk clothing at all. It's not good.
Now, I get the sense as well as a lot of what you're talking about today, and it just kind of popped into my mind there around silk ties. And because Feng Shui has been around for so long, do we in the Western world, we've got it around us and experiencing things, but we don't connect it back to where it maybe originated, or is that probably a good, yeah, it just feels like there's a lot of what you've talked about today we have around us, but we don't link it back to Feng Shui.
That's it. In the West, we don't link it back. There's things that we innately do. Like if you're out there listening to this, you're a designer or an architect, you probably find you are really good at what you do. I'm sure you are. And it's because you are energetically doing it, not consciously energetically doing, but you just know it feels right, and it just feels like it's good designing. That is tapping into the natural laws of Feng Shui. The problem for Feng Shui, in my opinion, is that a lot of the masters, the Feng Shui masters over the decades, over the centuries, have changed things around. It's like the Chinese whisper. And they've gone away from its original principles, and they've made it very messy and very involved and very convoluted. And this is obviously my personal opinion on this, but it actually, the actual original principles was about good design. So we are trying in our own way to do it, unconsciously to do it by creating good design for us, our clients, and that. What Feng Shui, what I'm trying to teach is to make it more conscious and go deeper on it and actually understand it on a deeper level, so that you're getting the benefit from it and the clients are getting the benefit from it. And then humanity helps, you know, the whole planet gets affected by it, to be quite futuristic here. Like we all, when there's good energy, we all get affected by it. It's like this crowd mentality. If you're in a crowd that's laughing, it just makes you laugh spontaneously. If you're in a crowd that's really angry, then the anger feeds on itself, and all of a sudden you've got a violent crowd. That's all energy, and Feng Shui is all about energy and good designing. So we Westerners have to get on board with this, because we're involved in it and affected by it whether we like it or not. It just is. Energy, the planet is energy, we're energy. Science, quantum physics is now backing up what Feng Shui has known for centuries, that we're all about energy, and you can't avoid it. And the sooner you get on board with understanding it, the better you'll feel, the better your life will be, and then you'll be able to help your clients as well.
Well, that does bring us to the end, Tracie. I'd say I've got a heap more questions there, but I probably need to let everyone carry on with their day's work. And that's been very thought-provoking. Thank you. And I think most of us are going away with a whole lot of things swirling around in our head after hearing that today. So thank you very much for giving us your time. Now, just to everyone out there, Tracie's contact details will be in the follow-up email that'll come out tomorrow, the automated email that comes out, or you can certainly email me and I will fire them out to you as needed. And for those that have asked, I think there's a few questions there. As I've already mentioned, all of our webinars are freely available to watch again. Normally takes a day or two for us to get them up on our website, and then they're freely available to watch at any time. So thanks again, Tracie. It's been fantastic having you in, and thanks to those out there that have tuned in. We'll leave you now. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you at the next webinar. Bye. Thanks, for now.
Everybody. Thank you. Bye.